cultivation would certainly help Africa to become self-sufficient in terms of its edible oil needs. Today, we all know Africa imports 3 to 4 million tons of edible oil every year. And if you look at the forthcoming plantations, the area that is considered for development is roughly three times the size of commercial farming in commercial plantations that exist in Africa. And there is 1.75 million hectares of land bank that could be developed. All that, if developed sustainably, as the companies engaged in development at this time are focusing on sustainable development and certification, will not only address the requirements of Africa, but also provide sources of sustainable oil exports to the world. So in the palm context, while Africa is a different geography from Asia the issues are similar. The concerns when it comes to palm development would be on land use, GHG emissions, biodiversity, and social conflict and displacement. So in the context of Africa, let's see what these issues are and what our ideas are to address those issues. Land use planning is not in place in several countries in Africa. So the lack of land use would certainly lead to a lack of clarity in terms of customary rights, allocation of overlapping permits, and allocation of land where there are large village settlements. So it is critical for the companies participating in this sector to work proactively with the government and stakeholders to put in place a land use policy. In terms of biodiversity, HCV is very important, identifying wildlife corridors and schemes to mitigate wildlife-human conflict. So in our Gabon context, we anticipate intrusion of forest elephants into our plantations, and we are working on a scheme to deal with that. And hunting is cultural and sustenance in Africa. So once we start developing plantations, the local communities have access through our plantations to hunt, and that is to be dealt with over a period of time in the form of building awareness and also addressing the employment and income through which would focus them on alternative sources of protein. In terms of GHG emissions, it is important to develop a carbon threshold for Africa where none exists today, and also focus on methane capture in the mill to be efficient on carbon emissions. Social conflict and displacement of indigenous people would be a very important aspect. The land ownership is different in different countries in Africa. There are community-owned lands, and in countries like Cameroon and Gabon, the land is owned by the government. So it's important to have a social participatory mapping and an FPIC process done properly to deal with the issues properly right from the start. In terms of labor issues, palm plantation is obviously going to address the issue of unemployment. So if well done, then it will ensure that labor issues do not exist in the plantations. What is very critical in terms of labor issues is in terms of the training and local capacity, because there is very little local knowledge that exists in palm cultivation in Africa, and also in terms of empowering women. There are a lot of women who work in our plantations as we are developing them. So it is important to have sexual harassment policies and build awareness around the rights of women in workplace. So while Africa restarts palm development, there is a lot of knowledge and there is a great opportunity to do it right and different from how Asia has done, because there is significant sustainability consciousness in the palm industry itself, and we have reference to a lot of frameworks to do it the right way. RSPO is a very good framework which we could rely upon to establish palm plantations. And Africa itself has been very progressive in terms of good governance. So you'd realize that probably most of the FSC certified timber concessions are in Africa today. Our Gibbon Experience, we have a plan to establish palm plantations over 100,000 hectares in 2 phases, 50,000 hectares in 4 years and 50 in the 4 to follow. We are in the process of establishing the first 5,000 hectares of plantations as we speak. So what we experienced was we went through a very rigorous SEIA process that is locally driven under the local regulatory framework. That framework requires appointment of an independent agency to do the SEIA, and it also includes carbon estimation, There is forest and agriculture inventories and a public notification of 10 days so that people are aware of the project and the implications of the project. And the validation of the SCIA is rigorous as well by several different ministries that are involved and have interest in the development. And the HCV study, we did it using an international consultant who is accredited. And in our first parcel that we are developing, we've set aside 30% for conservation. The land parcel size is about 12,000 hectares, and we'll be developing 8,000 hectares there. And the HCV values were 4.1, 4.2, and 5 that we found in those areas.
I wanted to do that. I need to give you a 1-minute warning, please, Vasanth, okay?
Sorry. And in terms of social dimension, we had the local research institutions, government ministries, and external experts who worked with us in doing the social participatory mapping and the FPIC process. So, I'll summarize in 30 seconds. So as a Palm business, Olam has, we take RSPO seriously, and we've been directed by our board to look at RSPO as a baseline. And we had a multi-stakeholder meeting involving experts, NGOs, banks, and customers to guide us in terms of what can we do better than RSPO, if we were to call it as RSPO plus. And it's going to be progressive. We don't have all the ideas in place right now. What we are focusing on is our responsibility in the countries that we develop in terms of developing national interpretation and land use, which is very critical in Africa. In terms of carbon footprinting, to work with multiple stakeholders to determine carbon threshold for Africa, and in terms of improving livelihoods, focusing on local communities and local development and improving smallholders. To conclude, palm is being developed in Africa under different circumstances than what it existed in Asia when palm development took off. On the environmental side, land use planning is very critical, and carbon thresholds too. In terms of community engagement, there is scope to build significant local capacity, empowering women and improving livelihoods. And the challenges faced would be around land use, community rights, and women rights at workplace. But we believe plantation development will positively, if done the right way, contribute to the expansion of agricultural sector in Africa and support self-reliance. Thank you.